Recent years have created challenging conditions across the globe. Shifting geopolitical and economic environments are leading to upheaval in the business landscape. Groundbreaking technological advances are fundamentally affecting our vision of the future. Change has become a constant in the new business reality. As our industry embarks on a journey to secure a competitive position, business leaders must look beyond the established cycles towards longer-term investment decisions. They should fully harness and streamline company resources to consistently deliver excellence in their core business. They should recognize opportunities and threats and adapt faster than competitors to create a sustainable advantage. For decades, the chemical industry has transformed the way we live, positively impacting every aspect of our lives. But now, the chemical industry itself is transforming. In the face of disruptive technologies, globalization, and constant market volatility, transformation is a key imperative. If chemical companies are to remain successful in this challenging market environment, they must focus on building their capabilities in innovation and turning them into a powerful growth engine. Innovation in technology and increasingly services will be an absolute must to deliver competitive advantage. In many ways, this requires a new way of thinking. It requires right-sizing and restructuring the business. It requires being agile and bringing products faster to market. It requires portfolio adjustment after years of haphazard growth. Over the next 2 days, we will explore how transformation can help provide an appropriate response to today's challenges and mega trends. Successful companies in the future will be those that take the steps to commit to continual transformation, profoundly changing their strategy and business and operating models, and developing their people and organization. The future belongs to those able to build a winning culture and drive sustainable growth faster than their competitors. Entrenched competitive advantages can fade away with time. Now is the time to deliver transformation and create an immediate impact with lasting benefits to our business, our people, and our society. The chemical industry in transformation. A new journey begins.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, marhaba and good morning. My name is Diala Sabah. I'm a partner with Gulf Intelligence, and on behalf of the Gulf Petrochemicals and Chemicals Association, it's a pleasure to welcome you all to the 12th Annual GPCA Forum, the region's foremost gathering for the chemicals industry. We are delighted and honored this morning to have His Excellency Khalid Al-Falih, the Minister of Energy, Industry and Mineral Resources of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, joining us, and also His Excellency Suhail Al-Mazrou'i, the Minister of Energy and Industry of the United Arab Emirates, and we extend a very warm welcome to you. As we've just witnessed from the introductory video, over the last decade, the GCC's petrochemicals industry has enjoyed tremendous growth at a cumulative annual rate of 10%, making it the second highest in the world behind China over the same period. But, as we're all very well aware, its inherent feedstock cost advantage comparison to international competitors has dissipated in the last 3 years amid the new normal of lower oil and gas prices and abundant availability of US shale gas. Restructuring within the energy industry as a whole is already well on its way, with consolidation of national assets and companies, diversification of activities across the whole value chain, and an increased drive towards greater efficiencies by both NOCs and IOCs. The industry needs to play an important part in the requirement to transform in this newly established landscape. And over the next 2 days, we will have the opportunity to be joined on stage by experts in the chemical sector to discuss how this journey should exactly and ideally progress so that the industry can remain competitive and capture global growth opportunities and trends. Before we get started, I'm going to take you through a few housekeeping points, so please do bear with us. In an emergency, there'll be an announcement to evacuate the building by the nearest fire exit. Hotel marshals will direct you, and the assembly point is towards the Souk Madinat. At the roundabout, there will be people to direct you out. Please do continue to wear your badges at all times so that you can access all parts of the conference, including the exhibition area. If I could please ask you all to now, if you haven't done so already, place your mobile phones on silent, but please do keep them on, as we would like to encourage you to download the annual forum app. This app is very resourceful. On it you can find delegate details who've registered. You can find obviously details of the forum program and what's on the agenda for the next 2 days, and also the social media feed. You'll also be able to give your feedback via the app on the conference, and the GPCA would please welcome that very much. In terms of social media, you'll see the hashtags hopefully behind me on the screen, where you can put your hashtag, put your comments. This is a very interactive forum. We will be having also Q&A later on, so please do add your comments there. In the Q&A, there's also a Slido system that we use, which again, the details will be up on the screen shortly, and you can log on to that, the hashtag and the username, and put your questions forward. When we do have a chance for Q&A on stage, you'll also see some questions that others are putting forward, and you can rate those according to your preference. And the higher rating they get, the more likely they'll be asked on stage. There are antitrust guidelines, please. We do need to avoid discussion of present and projected prices, and there's a sheet in your delegate bags with further details on that, should you wish to look at it. Post-forum, post-conference, there will be digital versions of the presentations that are made available to us, and these will be posted on the website, and all delegates will be sent the username and password to access those. I'd like to draw your attention to this afternoon. After lunch, there will be the seminar of day 1 at 2:30 p.m. in here, entitled Transforming Risk to Reward. And tomorrow on day 2, at the same time as well, at 2:30, we will have our second seminar on the topic of the day, really, digitization and data intelligence, topic of the era at the moment. And that will be tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 p.m. as well. And all delegates are welcome to attend these as well. The GPCA is delighted and very excited this evening to be holding its inaugural Legacy Awards, the first year that the GPCA is holding these, and this will be happening at 6 p.m. In the ballroom, and we look forward to all of you joining us then, and that will be ahead of the gala dinner at 7:30 p.m., which will be hosted by SABIC on the lawn outside. Well, now let's get down to business. It's a delight to welcome Mr. Youssef Al-Banyan, the Vice Chairman and the CEO of SABIC and the Chairman of the GPCA. Mr. Al-Banyan's 30-year career at SABIC has seen him hold executive positions in business development, finance and operations across the company and across geographies in the US and in Asia, where he made significant contributions to SABIC's growth, particularly in China. He has been instrumental in guiding SABIC's chemicals business, the company's largest unit, to become the preferred global leader in chemicals by 2025. Mr. Al-Banyan is also chairman of the board at Yensab and SAFCO, and a member of the board of the Royal Commission for Jebel and Yanbu and the Saudi Ports Authority. He sits on several advisory boards of Saudi academic institutions and an executive committee member of the Riyadh Economic Forum and the Riyadh Chamber of Commerce. He was elected chairman of the GPCA board in May 2016. Please join me in inviting him for the welcome address.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Your Excellency, Minister Khalid Al-Faleh, Your Excellency, Minister Suhail Mazroui, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you on the 12th Annual GBCA Forum. We have together come a long way in the 12 years of our journey. So has the entire chemical industry and the business environments which we operate. This is clearly evident from the year's GBCA theme, the chemical industry and transformations. Today, I will share with you some of the fundamental challenges our sector faces and the fundamental actions and transformations we must undertake to sustain and deliver quantum leap in performance, which is rewarding to our shareholders, employees, and communities. In 2015, we discussed right here at the GBCA the fundamental challenges that are affecting our competitiveness. We discussed the need to take critical actions and address these challenges to regain our competitiveness. Lately, our industry has experienced rapid structural shift in business environment. Just about 3 years ago, no one could predict the changes we are undergoing right now. For example, Brent oil price went down from $100 to $26 within 16 months, and it's an average around 50% of the price between 2011 and 2014. This was a big shift for our industry that is based on materials and products derived or linked somehow with the crude oil price. It's expected that we will live in this current oil market price environments for years to come, driven by structural shift in the global oil market. This is fundamental change. China and overall Asia, the engine of chemical demand, it's expected that China will contribute around 50% of all incremental chemicals growth between 2016 and 2025. It is very important and a strategic market for our industry. However, China's rise to self-sufficiency threatens to capture most of the addressable demand. At this point, on the other hand, it's the shale-enabled U.S. petrochemicals expansions to compete with the GCC to address this incremental demand. The only chain where China remains insufficient is ethylene, but we don't know for how long it will be available for us. Further to the environments of high oil price, a steep ethylene cost curve played to advantage of many petrochemical companies. But the current oil market and oil environments has redefined our industry landscape. It led to structural flattening of ethylene cost curve and also to the delay or cancellations of investment to our industry. This gave way to tighter supply and demand environments, which we have enjoyed since 15 years for ethylene margins. However, this has been masked in true intensity of fundamental shifts. Going forward, when this good time goes away, the reality will hit us back. Beside these fundamental challenges, we continue to experience fast-paced disruptions caused by technology and recent political and economic developments in the US, Europe, China, and elsewhere. Times are changing very fast, and we have to adapt even faster. There are opportunities, however, strong than expected. GDP growth outlook, a multiplier of 1.3 of GDP for the chemical industry, present an opportunities to grow and reap benefits. This marks the new reality for GCC petrochemical industry. The fundamental challenges and opportunities is facing. Winner, of course, will be those who address these fundamental challenges and capitalize on those opportunities. Leading global chemical companies have taken actions to address those challenges. Some of those actions include merging and acquiring business to consolidate industry positions and prepare to effectively address growth frontiers. Divesting non-core business and actively managing portfolio. Applying self-help and cost control measures, amongst others, to achieve portfolio effectiveness. Creating a fitter and focused business for the future. I especially want to draw your attention to the unprecedented wave of mega deal, merger and acquisitions we are seeing in the industry. We are seeing the largest mergers in the history of the chemical industry. Indeed, ICIS projects that 2017 might be the biggest year for petrochemical mergers ever. The reason, to address this issue, there is a new era of increased competitive intensity in our industry. The players are rushing to secure growth frontiers and strengthen their portfolio. This is to ensure they own a robust and well-protected business looking forwards before they become a victim of commoditizations. Where does this leave our GCC petrochemical industry? Not in a good place. We are lagging in taking decisive actions. This is quite evident from structural diversion and recent performance between GCC-based and global chemical companies. This is quite evident through the sustained performance of a global top 85 chemical companies. However, the current challenges for the top 22 GCC chemicals players have caused structural challenges in our performance. This undermines our region's competitiveness to deliver growth, profitability, and long-term sustainability. Addressing these fundamental challenges require taking fundamental actions and fundamental changes. The fundamental changes required to deliver quantum leap in performance is a transformation. It is not an incremental improvement. We have to realize this is not really an incremental improvement is needed, but a drastic changes in the way we operate and in the way we conduct business. One thing we need to know for sure, status quo is not an option. I am sure that some of the business leaders have already acknowledged these fundamental changes and are taking actions to address those challenges and performance difficulties. Last year at the GBCA, we talked about some of the needed actions. For example, consolidations, diversifications of GCC petrochemical industry that it requires collective leadership and cooperations. However, progress has been very slow. We have must move fast and make decisions, implementing them using the right team and the right partnership. Transformations in the scale of magnitude can only be delivered by companies through strategic actions which are broad, multi-faced, and well-coordinated. We have to build key strategic actions to get fit, to enhance our capability and revisit our business rationale. And through this process, we support our countries, which are also going through historical transformations. Let me just talk a bit about those key actions required. It's advised by a doctor that one has to be physically and mentally whether he or she before they embark on journey. And business is not different. Business have to be fit before they start their transformation journey. Getting fit will require business to effectively managing cost, capturing low-hanging fruits, and make organization lean and focused to embark in their transformational journeys. At the same time, organizations have to seriously consider building and acquiring best-in-class capabilities in commercial, manufacturing, supply chain, etc., to achieve true excellence. This will only happen in an organization will create self-sustainable system of capability to enhance and sustain their top-notch performance. Further, to strengthen the core of the business, create a new source of competitive advantages. Organization will have to leverage force of disruptions to innovate by creating digital processes, smart operations, and supply chain. As I said earlier, the chemical industry continues to be the bright spot, offering tremendous growth opportunities. However, the rules of the games have changed. We have to think hard on what value we bring to the table, what competitive advantages we can create and leverage in the longer run. How are we going to address the growth driven by Asia? By creating a win-win partnership globally. We have to build the right portfolio to invest smartly in technology and innovations capability, which will drive result. The new reality in the global energy market has affected GCC economies as well. GCC governments are driving historical transformations to diversify and grow their economies. In this environment, the role of GCC chemical industry become even more critical to support their nations in realizing their envisioned transformations. We have to take this role very seriously. The transformation journey, as described, may seem hard, but holds many rewards for organizations that undertake this journey and deliver on its goals. To ensure that the changes are successful, organization and its leader need to commit to drive those changes. Organizations need to think big, be innovative, and fast to capitalize on opportunities by taking the right actions. First and foremost is to bring the right world-class leaders into the right positions. Changes start with leadership. If the leaders do not acknowledge the challenges and do not deliver on those changes, then be assured that the organization is set up for failure. Company needs to ensure that they preach and act through performance-driven cultures and implement systems with clearly defined goals, accountability, and a performance reward. Transformation is the fundamental change that our industry needs to embrace if only we are to come stronger after those challenges time. Our strategic actions today will define our positions tomorrow. Let's collectively embark on this journey and deliver a quantum leap that is most required for our GCC industry. Let's not waste these great opportunities, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Mr. Banyan for setting the scene for today and tomorrow's discussions. Well, I'm delighted again and honored Khalid Al-Falih, the Minister of Energy, Industry and Mineral Resources of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. His Excellency Al-Falih is also Chairman of the Board of Saudi Aramco, and during his 3-decade career at the company has been recognized for driving strategic organizational transformation through exceptional leadership and vision. Previous to being appointed Chairman in 2015, His Excellency was President and CEO of Aramco. His Excellency's appointment as Minister of Energy and Industry and Mineral Resources is a reflection of the key economic and business changes that are part of the Saudi Vision 2030. Previous to his current ministerial role, His Excellency was also Minister of Health for the Kingdom. He also chairs several boards, including Ma'adin and the Royal Commission for Jbel and Yanbu. Please join me in giving His Excellency a very warm welcome to the podium to deliver the inaugural address.
Thank you very much. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأسعد الله صباحكم جميعا. أخي وزميلي صاحب المعالي الأخ العزيز سهيل المزروعي، أخي سمو الأمير سعود بن ثنيان، أنا سعيد جدا بلقائك اليوم واستمرارك باهتمامك بهذه المنظمة وهذه الصناعة بعد مسيرة مثمرة جدا في قيادتك للهيئة الملكية لجبيل وينبع ورأسك لمجلس إدارة عملاق صناعة البتروكيماويات شركة سابك، أصحاب السمو والمعالي والسعادة مرة أخرى، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to be back in Dubai for the annual GPCA forum, which I have had the pleasure of addressing twice before, but I have to also admit that even when I wasn't addressing, I have been following each and every meeting and following the deliberation that you have been having in this fantastic gathering. And each time I find the forum has attracted new leaders with fresh perspectives, making enriching contributions to our industry. And it's undoubtedly the most important chemical industry forum in our region, growing in significance each year as the sector itself gains greater global prominence and becomes more essential for the Gulf's future economic development. And of course, the GPCA has been indeed very catalytic to the growth of the sector. Many people should be appreciated. My dear friend Mohammed Al-Madi, of course, has been quite instrumental, and also Dr. Abdul Wahab Sadoun, and more recently, the last 2 years, our first speaker, Yusuf Al-Banyan, all of them, I thank you very much for the great work you have done to get as many people as we have here in this room to deliberate, network, and take our industry forward. So I want to acknowledge that the Gulf region's petrochemicals industry has come a long way from the modest beginnings and has become a source of pride for every citizen here in the Gulf region. To my delight, I see many companies that are recognized global leaders, while massive chemicals clusters have distinguished themselves through their competitive cost position, especially for primary chemicals. Along this journey, petrochemical businesses have built a strong position on cost leadership, supported by the region's governments and having forged a prosperous and productive partnership with the oil and gas industry. I would like to compliment the industry leaders and professionals gathered here today for these commendable achievements. But while history offers a great deal of satisfaction as well as valuable lessons, it is much more important to think about what our future ought to be. Therefore, the focus of my remarks today is in turning our cost leadership into value leadership, which will pay enormous dividends in multiple ways. Let me begin with a quick look at our region's tremendous competitive advantages and the firm foundation upon which we can build. First and foremost, the Gulf region's ample and competitively priced supplies of fuels and feedstocks. Our manufacturing plants can draw further strength from economies of scale, while regional governments that are eager to diversify their industrial bases are ready to support the industry's vigorous growth and value addition. Also, the long-term labor force availability is plentiful, with 40% of the population below the age of 15. In terms of markets, while populations in mature regions are stagnant or declining, the wider MENA region's population is currently 370 million, as large as the United States or Western Europe, and is expected to exceed 500 million by 2050. In addition, MENA's geographic location allows us to efficiently and effectively serve both the vast Asian and well-developed European markets and to meet the future needs of growing African economies. Now, Africa is a low GDP region today, but if we think of the entire continent and look at a long-term horizon, that continent's population is expected to grow to a staggering 3 billion people by the mid-2050s, and it should be part of our strategy. This is indeed a very encouraging picture, but unfortunately, our industry has lagged in both profitability and value creation, especially recently. And I think the graphic that my friend Yusuf just shared with us on the divergence between the top 80 companies globally and the top 22 GCC is a wake-up call for us all. So let's compare ourselves against leading industrial regions like the United States, Europe, and China, with a focus on value addition and economic contribution. Despite its commodity leadership position in oil and gas resources and production, our region here in the Gulf can claim only 2% of the world's $4 trillion a year in chemicals revenue. And when I talk about 4 trillion, that is including all of the branches of downstream value addition. Largely because of our limited positions in high-end and value-added products. The unit value of plastic product exports per kilogram is also significantly lower for our region compared to competing regions, underscoring the need to move to higher value products in general. We also know that the chemical sectors in the US and Europe are among the most powerful engines of industrialization, economic diversification, and employment creation. Exactly our region's most critical shortcomings. For example, our region's share of global specialties revenue is barely 1% compared to 20% for Western Europe. And we account for only 3% of what's called value addition worldwide from chemicals, compared to 25% of value addition that comes from the US. The region locally consumes only about 18% of petrochemicals for conversion into higher value products. This is 18% of our own production, while more than 82% are exported. This compares to only 1/3 of commodities being exported by the US and 2/3 being converted into higher value products. I urge you our industry leaders to match the US conversion rates by 2030. Likewise, the American and European chemical industries each employ between 5 and 6 million people, directly and indirectly, that is, compared to only about 500,000 here in the entire GCC, and we all know that most of those 500,000 are expatriate workers and not the nationals of our countries. We also lag our global competitors in OPEX excellence. Our region's operating costs exceed comparable US benchmarks, according to a study I saw last week, by between 15 and 20%, and the Chinese benchmarks by about double those figures. As a result, both macroeconomic benefits and the profitability of the sector have lagged considerably, and our competitive cost structure, which I referred to, is largely a function of feedstock cost advantages, not production cost leadership. To bridge these gaps, we need government, industry, investors, and innovators to work together. In other words, if we are to develop a leadership position that corresponds to the immense potential our region holds, then future-oriented progressive government policies, which we're responsible for, must be complemented by sound corporate strategies for which you are responsible, as well as an ecosystem fostering entrepreneurship, venture capital, and research and development, which we collectively need to work together to develop. This is the essence of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, launched last year by His Majesty, Custodian of the Two Holy Mosques, King Salman, and driven tirelessly by Crown Prince, His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, which provides a wider context for our discussion of chemicals and their contributions. The vision is a blueprint for the future of a more sustainable and prosperous Saudi Arabia by building multiple economic engines besides petroleum. At its core is the further industrialization and diversification of the Saudi economy and an increasingly rising contribution from knowledge-based industries. I believe the chemicals industry and advanced materials in particular should be among the foundational pillars to achieve these aspirations. Within that context, the National Industrial Development and Logistics Program, or NIDLIP as it's called, has been launched to achieve the vision's aspirations and objectives for the broader industrial sector in the kingdom, underpinned by the transformation of our country into a pioneering industrial powerhouse and a global logistics hub. This program integrates all national strategies and initiatives across the energy, chemicals, manufacturing, mining, and logistics sector. It also encompasses the design and provision of key industrial enablers, including research and innovation, adoption of Industry 4.0 technologies and processes, export promotion, the upgrade of special economic zones, infrastructure and industrial land, human capital development, and of course, financing. In fact, we've already increased the capital of the Saudi Industrial Development Fund from 40 to 65 billion Saudi riyals and have set in motion the creation of a Saudi Export-Import Bank. The NIDLIP targets are both bold and ambitious. To raise the GDP contribution of the sectors I have highlighted from about 500 billion Saudi riyals today to 1.7 trillion by 2030, so more than tripling. as well as increasing non-oil exports from roughly 200 billion today to 2.5 trillion riyals over the same period. So scaling it up by a factor of 12. I am sure it is obvious to all of you that these targets must be achieved by growth in value and not simply in volume alone. So how do we transform the industry from a cost leadership and commodities focus to a high value creation focus? There are multiple growth opportunities to be captured across the value chain, particularly increasing the value capture from our current production of basic and intermediate chemicals, expanding further downstream into specialty chemicals and conversion products, and prioritizing differentiated and branded products that can compete with the best in the industry. Of course, successful downstream expansion requires deeper understanding of customers, their value chains, and critical applications of our products, both existing and prospective. In Saudi Arabia's case, further value from our existing base can be created by integrating chemical plants with the rest of the industrial ecosystem. The advanced materials you will be producing will enable the development of other competitive industries in the kingdom, including automotive, aerospace, renewables, pharma and biotech, military industries, and building materials, among others. This will be supported by enforcing higher local content requirements through government purchasing and fostering a more competitive and robust supply chain. However, turning this concept into reality means transforming our region's relatively nascent chemical sector into a global, specialty chemical sector into a global powerhouse. Therefore, I once again challenge the Gulf's chemical sector to match Western Europe's 25% of the world's specialty chemicals revenue by 2030. Aside from considerable capital investments, this will also require preeminence in homegrown innovation, research, and indigenous technology creation. We should also increase the proportion of primary chemicals converted locally by encouraging our customers, both local and global, to establish manufacturing operations here in the region. At the moment, though, our specialty sector features a limited number of small and medium players who lack access to intellectual property needed to achieve scale and global positioning. While the conversion sector has grown significantly in the last decade, most of our producers remain focused on low value added products, especially packaging. And we continue to import high value added products from Europe and even a significant amount from developing regions like China. In Saudi Arabia, we're determined to change the situation and are giving special attention to the role of job-rich, small and medium-sized enterprises. Across the region, here in the UAE in particular, we must create thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises in the secondary and tertiary chemical space, as well as in the downstream and conversion sectors in general, to complement each other. Such a diverse and dynamic range of SMEs will accelerate value addition, enable greater industrialization, and help to sustain employment creation. It will also encourage entrepreneurial activity in the wider regional economy and help to harness the ideas, skills, talent, and drive of our sizable youth demographic. At the primary industry level, sizable prospects still exist in enhancing the integration between refining and chemicals, which offers a more diverse slate of petrochemical products and in the exciting direct conversion of crude into chemicals technology. In fact, SABIC and Saudi Aramco just announced yesterday the next phase of a $20 billion world-class chemicals project to be based on this very concept, crude to chemical. This will process 400,000 barrels per day of crude oil and produce 9 million tons of chemicals and base oils annually, and I commend both companies for this bold and exciting venture. Ladies and gentlemen, in my view, 2 additional drivers are needed to transform the Gulf's petrochemical industry to where we want it to go, namely innovation and collaboration. Research, innovation, and technology are at the core of turning low-value feedstocks and commodities into chemical products of immense value. And if we are to leapfrog the leading global players, we cannot simply continue importing their technologies. Instead, we need homegrown innovation with both incremental improvements and groundbreaking research. That requires a stronger innovation ecosystem, including greater commitment and investments in R&D, as well as the active involvement and engagement of academic and dedicated research institutions. Therefore, let's commit ourselves to creating a Silicon Valley of sorts for chemicals innovation, entrepreneurship, and startups right here in our region. My challenge to the industry is to produce new breakthroughs in applications and end-use industries that are of the same significance as previous game changers like polyethylene, nylon, Teflon, Kevlar, or the ammonia-based fertilizers that help create prosperity and propel the world population to 7.5 billion people. In this vein, one area ripe for investment is CO2 conversion to value, which may unlock entirely new value chains and industries, products and applications, while providing economically sustainable environmental benefits related to carbon emissions and climate change. And I think His Excellency Suhail Mazrou'i will be hosting us in a couple of weeks in a meeting that will address this very issue of CO2 capture and conversion. In this aspect, I have to again commend both SABIC and Saudi Aramco for their pioneering efforts addressing CO2 conversion to value. Finally, let me stress the enormous mutually beneficial opportunities for collaboration between the region's companies and outside investors. I have already spoken about our region's advantages, but international investors, many of them are represented today with us, have the technology, experience, and market positions that can help us bridge the gaps in our sector as it rises to a higher plane. And we need to do more to convince those investors and institutions that our region is where the future lies, and that it can and should serve as their platform for growth, addressing the markets I described earlier in my remarks. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I believe the region's petrochemical industry is well positioned to propel itself from a cost leader to a value leader position, and to join the ranks of top value creators in the industrialized world. However, the challenges ahead are substantial, and to reach the next level, we can no longer simply rely on the benefits that come from an abundance of feedstocks, economies of scale, and a product slate dominated by primary chemicals. Instead, we must create our own research breakthroughs and innovations, develop new differentiated products, and further integrate a more diverse and robust regional chemical sector with a host of downstream and conversion industries, and indeed with the wider economy through local supply chain. That means adding value by making wise capital decisions, fostering a more entrepreneurial ecosystem, scaling up our efforts in research and development, better tapping the enormous potential of our own people, and encouraging collaborative relationships with international investors for our mutual benefit. None of that will be easy, but looking at the leaders and professionals assembled here today, I believe our regional chemicals industry has what it takes to create the bright future to which we all aspire. Thank you very much for listening. And good luck with the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much to His Excellency Al-Falih, who fortunately has to make a departure now as he has other commitments, so we'd like to thank him for his very incisive words and really setting everybody in this room a very clear set of challenges and obviously offering some solutions for everybody to work on. We'll be certainly addressing a lot of those points.